Imagine spending 3 years trying to launch a global movement. You've got this message that you believe needs to reach the entire planet.
Right. The stakes are basically as high as they can get.
Exactly. And suddenly you are surrounded by thousands of people. I mean, they're begging to hear you. They're desperate for your attention.
A marketer's absolute dream, really.
Yeah, totally. And your core strategy is to just, well, completely ignore the massive crowds.
Which is wild.
It is. Instead, you decide to spend almost all of your time with 12 uneducated, highly reactive guys who constantly argue with each other about, which one of them is the greatest.
From a modern human resources perspective or like a corporate growth strategy angle, it is absolute career suicide.
Oh, completely. Yet it completely changed the world.
It's the ultimate paradox of influence, really. If you pitched that strategy to a venture capital firm today or a modern publishing house, you would be laughed out of the room.
Right. Hey guys, my growth strategy is ignoring everyone.
Exactly. You don't build a global brand by hiding in a corner with 12 guys who don't even have a basic grasp of public relations.
Exactly. And that is exactly where we are starting today. Welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here for this one.
If you are listening to this, you're our kind of person. You're the ultimate learner, always trying to find the actual signal through the deafening noise of modern life.
And there is so much noise right now.
So much. You're looking for the deeper currents beneath the endless surface-level life hack advice we get bombarded with every single day.
Right, the stuff that actually lasts.
Yeah. Today, our mission is to unpack a profoundly countercultural text titled The Legacy That Multiplies. We are going to fundamentally deconstruct how we measure success.
In everything, really. In leadership, in our careers, our families, and just our daily influence.
Right, because the framework we're exploring today from the source material, it doesn't just offer a new management technique.
No, not at all. It's not about optimizing your calendar or whatever.
Exactly. It demands a total from-the-ground-up paradigm shift regarding what it actually means to leave a lasting mark on the world.
And it all centers around one core question.
It does. And I want you, the listener, to really let this sit in your mind as we get into this. What if the greatest measure of your success is not how many people follow you, but how many leaders rise because of you?
Wow. That question alone is incredibly disruptive to our modern imagination.
It's entirely backward to how we are wired to think right now.
Yeah, completely backward.
We live in an ecosystem that exclusively rewards the platform, the applause, the public recognition.
The visible metrics.
Right. You build a skyscraper, the skyline changes, and the developer gets to point at it and say, look at what I did. It's concrete. It's measurable.
And we just assume that the louder the voice, the larger the crowd, the higher the follower count, the more successful the person is.
Exactly. Influence equals visibility. That is the water we swim in.
And that assumption is precisely the illusion that the source material says we need to dismantle.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, because we are dealing with two completely different mathematical approaches to life here.
Mathematical approaches. I like that.
Yeah, think about it. On one side, you have the modern metric, which is based entirely on the principle of addition.
Okay, addition.
Right. Addition asks a very specific, ego-driven question. How many can I gather?
Ah, gathering.
Exactly. The entire goal of addition is to build a crowd. You add one follower at a time, one customer at a time, one attendee at a time.
Right, just padding the stats.
Yes. But the biblical standard we're contrasting this with in the text operates on the principle of multiplication.
Okay, addition versus multiplication.
Right. Multiplication asks a fundamentally different question. Not how many can I gather, but how many can I raise?
Oh, wow. Raising versus gathering, that's a huge distinction.
It is. Because the goal isn't a crowd anymore. The goal is building a kingdom culture. It's not about adding to a mass, but multiplying through individuals.
Okay, I want to make sure we ground this right away for you listening, because whether you are leading a massive boardroom, raising a toddler, managing a local community garden, or just trying to be a genuine friend, this framework hits you directly.
It applies everywhere.
It really does. We are talking about moving from just gathering admirers to actually forming people.
Yes, forming people. That's the key.
It's the difference between visibility and what I love calling the strategic inefficiency of multiplication.
Oh, I love that. Strategic inefficiency is the perfect term for this.
Right, because it feels so slow.
It does. When we look at the modern world, we see an environment that equates success purely with scale.
We want bigger numbers, wider reach, a stronger brand identity.
Exactly. And Let's be clear, the source isn't saying that reaching a lot of people or having a large audience is inherently evil or wrong.
Right, nobody is saying you should actively try to fail or be obscure just for the sake of it.
No, not at all.
Having a million people listen to your idea isn't a sin.
Precisely. But those metrics become incredibly dangerous, even toxic, when they become the definition of your worth or the sole indicator of your success.
Yeah, when it becomes your identity.
If your entire identity is propped up by how many people are looking at you, you are standing on incredibly fragile ground.
And that is why looking at the historical example of Jesus presented in the text is so vital here.
It really is the ultimate case study.
If you analyze his earthly ministry through the lens of modern performance metrics, it looks completely chaotic and backward.
It looks like a failure, honestly.
I mean, let's really look at it. He completely ignored the metrics we obsess over today.
He spent the vast majority of his time with just 12 ordinary men.
Right. And even within that incredibly small circle, he invested most deeply in just 3 of them during the most critical, intense moments of his life.
Think about the pure logistics of that. You have a message that is designed to reach the entire globe.
And a ticking clock, right.
Exactly. A severely limited time window, roughly 3 years of active public ministry.
The modern edition mindset screams that you need to be doing stadium tours every single day.
You need to be maximizing your broadcast reach, optimizing your time to get in front of the largest demographics possible.
Right. You definitely don't have time for one-on-one coffee chats.
No, absolutely not. But instead of maximizing the crowds, the text points out that he intentionally, repeatedly moves away from public spectacle to focus on personal formation.
It's like the difference between opening a massive fast food franchise versus planting a slow-growing apple orchard.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Think about it. With the fast food franchise, you get 1 million transactions today. You get the receipts instantly.
A dopamine hit is right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see the revenue hitting the bank account at the end of the shift. It's instant, measurable validation. Look, we served 3,000 burgers today.
But the orchard is a totally different story.
Totally different. You plant a seed in the dirt and you stare at mud for a year.
Just watering mud.
Right. You are creating an ecosystem that will eventually feed generations, but in the short term, you look like a fool watering dirt.
That contrast between the fast food transaction and the orchard ecosystem captures the essence of what the source calls seed versus spectacle.
Seed versus spectacle. I like that.
Yeah, the economy of this kingdom framework almost always begins with a seed, not a spectacle.
Jesus wasn't interested in gathering admirers. He was focused on forming apostles.
Right. And there's a huge difference there. An admirer watches you eat the apple, but an apostle takes the seed, plants it, and grows their own orchard.
Oh, man. That's so good.
And if we look at the actual pipeline of leadership he chose, I mean, fishermen, tax collectors, zealots, it really is astounding.
Wait, I really want to pause on this because we sanitize this story so much.
We really do. We put it in stained glass.
Yes, when you say he chose fishermen and tax collectors, we picture these glowing, serene saints in stained glass windows.
Holding little lambs.
Exactly. But these were guys who literally argued with each other about who was the most important while they were walking down the street.
They were constantly bickering.
Peter, the supposed rock of the group, was so volatile he literally pulled out a sword and cut a guy's ear off in a moment of panic.
Total impulse control issues.
And James and John, the sons of thunder, they actually asked if they should call down fire from heaven to incinerate a village that didn't welcome them.
Just absolute chaos.
This wasn't a polished executive team.
Not even close. They're deeply flawed, highly reactive, and completely lacking in formal, theological, or leadership pedigree.
From a human assessment, they were the worst possible candidates to entrust with a global mission.
Terrible HR strategy.
So why them? If he's building an orchard, why pick the worst-looking seeds?
Because, from the divine perspective outlined in the text, transformation, not pedigree, is the only qualification that matters.
Transformation over pedigree.
Right. Jesus wasn't asking who was already great or who has the most polished public speaking skills.
He wasn't looking for a finished resume.
Exactly. He was asking who is willing to be formed.
Willingness.
Yes, willingness to be formed is the absolute foundational requirement in a multiplication model. You don't need a finished product, you just need pliable soil.
That is a massive paradigm shift.
It changes everything about how we evaluate potential.
Because if your goal is just addition, if you just want to pack out the fast food restaurant, You look for people who are already polished.
You hire the charismatic marketer, the smooth talker.
Right, the person who can attract a crowd. You want a finished product that you can plug into your machine.
But if you're planting an orchard, you aren't looking for a shiny waxed apple.
No, you're looking for a seed that is willing to die in the ground and be transformed.
And that concept of a seed dying to produce a forest brings us right to the underlying logic of generational transfer.
Generational transfer. Let's dig into that.
This inefficient method of planting seeds in willing soil isn't just an isolated historical anomaly, or like a quirky choice Jesus made.
It's a pattern.
Exactly. It is deeply woven into the entire biblical worldview from page 1. Multiplication isn't presented as a clever optional strategy. It's a fundamental divine pattern.
If you look at the creation narrative in Genesis, the very first mandate wasn't just to exist or even just to be good.
Right.
It was to be fruitful and multiply.
Yes. And the implication there isn't just biological reproduction, it is theological.
The core idea is that life, once received, is meant to spread.
Blessing is never meant to be a stagnant pool.
Yeah.
It is designed to be a river. It has to overflow.
We see that pattern relentlessly continuing through history in the source material.
Look at Abraham. He is blessed, but the emphasis is immediately that the blessing cannot stop with him.
Right. He is blessed specifically so that all families of the earth might be blessed through him.
The Psalms talk constantly about one generation declaring the works to the next generation.
And all of this culminates in the Great Commission in Matthew 28.
Which is definitively not a call to build religious spectators.
No, it's a direct command to create spiritual reproducers.
Exactly. Go and make disciples, not go and gather an audience.
And that brings us to 2 Timothy 2.2, which I think is the ultimate blueprint for this.
It really is the anchor text for multiplication.
It's this incredible verse that manages to capture 4 distinct generations of leadership in one single sentence.
For generations.
Yeah. Paul says to Timothy, "And the things you have heard me say, entrust to reliable people who will also be qualified to teach others."
Think about that chain.
Right. You have Paul, who teaches Timothy, who entrusts it to reliable people, who then teach others also.
4 generations of continuous transfer.
It perfectly encapsulates the truth that leadership is not about personal accumulation.
No, it is entirely about generational transfer.
Okay, I have to stop you there and push back hard on this.
All right, let's hear it.
Because when you describe a system where I recruit someone who is trained to recruit someone else, who is then trained to recruit someone else.
Sounds familiar, right?
Let's be real here. Look at modern megachurch pastors or startup founders or self-help gurus who claim to, multiply leaders.
Yeah.
How is this actually any different from a theological pyramid scheme?
That is such a fair question.
I mean, multi-level marketing uses the exact same language. Build your downline, empower others.
Be your own boss.
Right. But at the end of the day, the guy at the top is still getting the massive book deal, the biggest salary, and all the credit.
Yep.
So how do you, sitting there right now listening to this, how do we know this isn't just an exploitation model wrapped up in spiritual language?
That is a phenomenal question, and it is the exact trap so many modern organizations fall into.
It happens all the time.
To see the difference, you have to look closely at the direction of the flow.
The direction of the flow.
Right. In a pyramid scheme, in a multi-level marketing setup, or in any leadership model built on mere addition and ego, wealth, power, and prestige flow upward.
They funnel relentlessly back to the original founder at the top.
Exactly. The people at the bottom of the downline are systematically depleted of their resources, their time, and their energy in order to elevate the person at the apex.
Right. The founder gets rich, the recruits get burned out, they alienate all their friends, and they're left holding a box of expensive vitamins they can't sell.
Exactly. The system extracts value from the bottom to enrich the top.
Okay, so how is multiplication different?
In genuine spiritual multiplication, as outlined in the text, the flow is entirely reversed.
Reversed, so it goes down.
Yes. Life, power, and authority flow outward and downward to empower the next generation.
Ah, I see.
The original leader isn't hoarding power. They are actively giving it away. They are pouring themselves out, depleting their own resources to elevate the people below them.
So the goal isn't to build a platform for the leader, but to build a foundation for the follower.
That distinction is everything. It's the difference between extracting value and imparting life.
And this highlights the intense danger of what we call celebrity culture in modern institutions.
Oh, absolutely. Whether that's a church, A tech company, a political movement.
We so easily mistake attention for actual transformation.
Celebrity culture is the ultimate manifestation of the addition mindset.
How so?
Well, in a celebrity culture, followers admire you. They consume your content, they applaud your skill, they buy your merchandise.
But they fundamentally remain the same.
Exactly. They are spectators. Formed leaders, however, are shaped by you.
They don't just consume your content, they take on your character.
Right. They learn discernment, they bear responsibility, and crucially, they are eventually released from your control to go serve others.
Followers foster a permanent dependency on the leader, but formed leaders foster maturity and independence.
Exactly.
So logically, if producing leaders is infinitely better than producing followers, if it creates this beautiful, life-giving, generational orchid instead of a fragile cult of personality,
Yeah.
why do so few people actually do it?
Well, because the cost is agonizing.
Agonize.
It requires enduring a tremendous amount of hiddenness, and it requires the absolute surrender of control.
I really want to dig into this psychology of letting go because this is where the theory hits the wall of our human ego.
It's the hardest part.
Multiplication, by its very nature, looks completely unimpressive right before it looks fruitful.
Let's go back to your orchard analogy.
Okay.
A seed has to be buried in the dark, in the dirt, where no one can see it.
Well, it looks like a burial.
It looks like death, and a tree grows silently. You cannot hear a forest growing.
Wow, yeah. We want the loud, immediate impact of the skyscraper going up, the steel beams clanking, the cranes moving.
But a disciple matures through repetition, through correction, through shared meals, through quiet conversations.
And through time.
Yes, and frankly, time and repetition are not glamorous.
They do not get retweets.
No, they really don't.
I mean, I think about my own life. I remember a few years ago spending almost 3 years mentoring a junior guy on my team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I poured everything into him. Taught him how to negotiate, how to manage clients, how to navigate the office politics. We had coffee every Tuesday.
That's a huge investment.
It was. And then he got an incredible offer and left to start his own firm.
Oh, wow.
Now, the high-minded, theoretical part of me knows I should have been thrilled. I multiplied a leader.
Right, you did the thing.
But my immediate, ugly human reaction wasn't joy. It was, you ungrateful traitor, I made you.
That's so honest.
That ego death required to truly multiply is excruciating.
What you experience there is the visceral pain of decentralizing your own influence.
Yeah.
And it is entirely natural. But look at the historical precedents in the source text for this kind of hidden, unglamorous preparation.
Like who?
Well, Moses spent 40 years in the absolute obscurity of the wilderness tending literal sheep before he was ever called to lead a nation.
40 years. Just watching sheep.
Right. David was anointed king of Israel as a boy, but then spent years hiding in caves, playing music for a mad king, and running for his life long before he ever sat on a throne.
And Paul.
Paul spent years in hidden preparation in Arabia and Tarsus after his dramatic conversion before his public ministry really began.
Even Jesus spent 30 years in the total, silent obscurity of a carpenter shop in Nazareth before 3 years of public work.
30 years of making tables and chairs while the world was burning, just waiting for the right time.
God is clearly not in a hurry to produce platforms. He is fanatically committed to producing people.
And that truth should deeply humble anyone who currently holds a position of influence.
You will likely spend long, lonely seasons in obscurity,
Faithfully sowing seeds into people who might not even appreciate it in the moment.
without seeing any immediate spectacle to validate your effort.
Which perfectly explains why addition feels so much safer to us.
Yeah, addition feels safe because it keeps control centralized.
Exactly.
If you have one massive audience, you have one voice, one vision, one center of gravity, and it's you.
It's simple. You hold all the cards. You are the smartest person in the room.
But multiplication inherently decentralizes control.
It requires radical trust because you are actually releasing people to go do the work outside of your direct supervision.
And the fears that come with that are profoundly human and very real.
You ask yourself, what if they make a massive mistake and ruin the reputation of the organization?
Right. Or what if they lead differently than I would and totally change the culture?
What if they actually surpass me and become more successful, making me look obsolete?
Or, as I experienced, what if I pour my life into them and they just leave?
Those are terrifying questions for an insecure leader.
Because if your worth, your paycheck, and your identity are tied to how indispensable you are, multiplication isn't just a strategy.
No, it's a threat to your survival.
If you successfully multiply, you are actively working to make yourself less necessary.
Yes.
How do you survive that psychologically?
The source material suggests you survive it through a concept we can call stewardship over self-display.
Stewardship over self-display.
In 1 Corinthians 4.2, we are reminded that a steward doesn't own the house. They just manage it on behalf of the owner.
A shepherd doesn't own the sheep, they care for them.
Exactly. The moment you believe you own the people you are leading, you will manipulate them to serve your needs.
There is this profound quote from John the Baptist in the text that always wrecks me.
Oh, I know the one.
His own disciples come to him totally panicked, saying, "Hey, that Jesus guy you baptized, everyone is going to him now. Your poll numbers are tanking, John. You're losing market share."
And John's response is, he must increase, but I must decrease.
And it is critical to understand that John the Baptist wasn't expressing some sort of toxic, low self-esteem or self-deprecation.
He wasn't having a pity party.
Right. It was a statement of profound, joyful alignment.
John understood his specific assignment in the universe. True multiplication demands surrender.
You have to actively stop measuring your value by your indispensability.
You literally have to pour yourself out.
There's this metaphor Paul uses where he describes his own life and ministry as a drink offering.
Yes, the drink offering.
In the ancient world, a drink offering was wine poured out directly onto the ground or the altar. You can't gather it back up. It's gone.
It's totally consumed.
That is the definition of sacrifice over convenience.
A life spent in self-protection, carefully managing its brand, might stay intact for a while, but a life poured out becomes a river that sustains generations.
Man, that is powerful. And this brings us to what I believe is the most massive point of friction for you, the listener, living in today's reality.
Because we are not living in ancient Judea walking on dirt roads.
No, we are living in a hyper-connected, algorithmic digital age of acceleration.
We have to examine how this ancient tension between platform and people manifests when you open your smartphone today.
Yes, this is where the rubber meets the road, because the dangerous modern drift we are all caught in, whether we realize it or not, is the subtle shift from shepherding people to managing audiences.
And those are two very, very different things.
The distinction is profound and often completely overlooked.
Think about the verbs associated with an audience versus the verbs associated with people.
Okay, let's hear it.
An audience can be counted, an audience can be reached, and an audience can be influenced.
But people.
People must be known, people must be discipled, and people must be loved.
I want to repeat that so it sinks in for everyone listening.
Yeah.
You count an audience, but you know people.
You reach an audience, but you disciple people.
You can influence an audience from a stage, but you can only love people up close.
It is a completely different physical and emotional posture.
And in a digital environment, the currency of lasting influence is trust.
Luke 16.7 states that whoever is faithful in very little is faithful in much.
Trust is never built in moments of viral prominence.
Going viral does not generate trust. It only generates attention.
Trust is built in the boring, repetitive patterns of faithfulness.
Character matters infinitely more than charisma.
Consistency matters more than intensity.
But wait, I know what someone listening right now is thinking.
Oh, I know too. But hold on. Likes, shares, subscriber counts, engagement metrics, those are good things.
Right, they mean people are actually listening to my message.
If I have a great message, shouldn't I want the biggest audience possible? Isn't engagement the goal?
This is the great deception of the algorithmic age.
Engagement is not the destination.
No, transformation is.
Engagement might be the entry point. Someone has to hear you before they can change. But if it stops at engagement, it is merely consumption.
They're just snacking on your content.
Jesus didn't measure his success by how many people favorited his Sermon on the Mount or how many people thought he was an impressive speaker.
He measured it by how many people took up their cross and followed him.
And right now, in the era we are living in, this is more vital than it has ever been in human history.
We are entering an era dominated by artificial intelligence.
Technology accelerates communication, but it completely muddies authenticity.
When an AI can effortlessly generate a highly engaging, perfectly structured, emotionally manipulative 10-point thread on LinkedIn in 3 seconds.
What is your differentiator as a leader?
Exactly. The only differentiator left in a world of infinite synthetic content is genuine, lived, messy authenticity.
Proverbs 11.3 says, "The integrity of the upright guides them."
Integrity isn't just a defensive shield that keeps you out of trouble. It is an active compass that guides your decisions and filters your opportunities.
There is a terrifying modern phenomenon where influence outpaces integrity.
We see this warning in 1 Timothy 3.6, where it explicitly warns against recent converts becoming leaders too quickly, lest they become conceited and fall.
We see this constantly. A 22-year-old goes viral on TikTok for giving financial or spiritual advice, suddenly has 3 million followers, gets a massive book deal, starts a company.
And 3 years later, the whole thing implodes in a massive scandal.
Because they built a massive platform that grew faster than their character could sustain?
The weight of the audience crushed the structural integrity of the person.
Precisely. If your visibility outpaces your spiritual and emotional depth, the structure will inevitably collapse.
Character has to be the infrastructure, and you cannot build infrastructure on a stage.
It is built in the hidden disciplines.
Prayer when absolutely no one is watching.
Maintaining integrity in small financial decisions that no one would ever discover.
Choosing consistency in unseen responsibilities, like how you treat your spouse or your children when the cameras are off.
These things aren't peripheral to your leadership. They are the literal foundation.
Okay, so let's make this intensely practical for your daily life.
Let's do it.
Let's say you decide to actually commit to this. You pull the car over or you pause your workout and you say, okay, I'm done playing the addition game. I'm going to focus on depth.
I'm going to focus on forming actual people, not just managing my digital platform.
What happens next?
Well, get ready, because you are going to face intense, overwhelming resistance.
It is absolutely inevitable. Any shift toward depth in a shallow world encounters massive resistance, both externally and internally.
Externally, every system around us is designed to reward speed.
The metrics favor visibility.
The corporate promotion structure, the social media algorithms, the expectations of your peers, they all demand immediate urgency and visible output.
They don't want the slow-growing orchard. They are demanding to see the fast food franchise receipts by the end of Q3.
Exactly. And while the external resistance is exhausting, the internal resistance is actually far more insidious.
It's that quiet, nagging voice of impatience whispering in your ear, this is taking way too long.
It's the deep insecurity that flares up when you log on to social media, look around and say, all my peers are getting ahead faster than me.
They have more followers, better job titles, nicer cars. I'm wasting my time pouring into these three individuals.
It is so incredibly frustrating when people feel slower than systems.
It is. As a leader, you can optimize a workflow.
You can automate an email sequence so it runs perfectly while you sleep.
You can streamline a supply chain.
But you cannot streamline a human being.
People are messy. They regress. They misunderstand.
They require time, they require staggering amounts of patience, and they require constant nurturing.
And that reality is exactly why Galatians 6.9 is such a lifeline.
Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up.
Notice the acknowledgement of weariness. There is an inherent, inescapable delay between sowing the seed and reaping the harvest.
Short-term, algorithmic thinking constantly asks, what works right now? How do I spike the metrics today?
Kingdom thinking, legacy thinking asks, what will endure a century from now?
This means you have to completely, radically reframe how you see your typical Tuesday.
You have to stop seeing interruptions as distractions from your real work.
And realize that the interruptions are the actual work itself.
Yes. If a junior employee or your child comes to you with a seemingly mundane question while you are drafting an important email, they aren't interrupting your leadership.
They are the living opportunity for your leadership. The email is the distraction. The person is the mission.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. Systems can support growth, but only people can sustain it.
And the architecture of that human transformation is nothing more than gritty consistency.
Luke 9.23 talks about taking up the cross daily. We are addicted to the spectacular breakthrough, but the spectacular is largely a myth.
The faithful, boring daily grind is the reality.
It's showing up daily, especially on the days when the initial enthusiasm has completely faded and the work feels like drudgery.
And the incredible relief in all of this is that we don't actually have to carry the burden of the final results on our own shoulders.
There's a profound theological release valve in 1 Corinthians 3.6.
Where Paul says, I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow.
That is perhaps the most crucial reframing of responsibility for any leader.
We are completely responsible for the faithfulness.
The daily planting, the tedious watering, the showing up when we don't feel like it.
But God is entirely responsible for the growth.
Recognizing that relieves the leader from the crushing, anxiety-inducing pressure to artificially manufacture results.
It frees you to simply focus on being a faithful presence in the lives of the people right in front of you.
Okay, let's bring all of this out of the clouds and into your actual schedule.
Good idea. We've talked extensively about the philosophy, the deep theology, and the painful psychology of multiplication.
But how do we actually do it?
Let's transition from theory to concrete, actionable steps. We have 5 practical markers of a multiplying life based on the source material.
Let's really wrestle with these so you can start applying them tomorrow morning.
All right, hit me. What's the first one?
The first marker is to identify and invest intentionally.
Okay, identify and invest.
This is the concept of incarnational leadership.
Oh,
Now, you don't scatter your attention everywhere hoping something sticks. You specifically choose 2 or 3 people.
and crucially, you don't just choose the people with the highest IQ or the most raw potential.
No, you choose based on availability, hunger, and willingness.
Wait, incarnational leadership sounds like heavy seminary jargon.
It is a bit clunky, I admit.
What does that actually look like on a Tuesday afternoon in a corporate office or for a busy mom?
Incarnational simply means in the flesh. It means life-on-life proximity.
So not just a meeting.
Right. It is not a sterile, hour-long whiteboard session in a conference room once a month. It means inviting them into your actual messy life.
It's saying, I have to run to the hardware store, ride in the car with me.
Or, I'm drafting this difficult email to a furious client, pull up a chair and watch how I phrase this.
You grant them access to how you think and how you react under pressure, not just the polished theories you teach.
Mark 3.15 says, Jesus appointed the 12 that they might be with him.
Before he ever sent them out to preach, the primary requirement was simply being with him.
Proximity precedes impact.
I love that. Pull up a chair. That is so practical. Okay, step 2.
Build a reproducible system.
Clarity creates continuity.
If you have all this incredible instinctive wisdom locked in your brain, but you've never actually written it down or systematized it, it dies the second you get hit by a bus or retire.
That is the exact vulnerability that Habakkuk 2.2 addresses.
Write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it.
If you want someone to run with your vision, they have to be able to read it clearly. You have to document your process.
Define your core values. Outline how you make decisions.
Keep the framework simple enough that someone else can easily reproduce it and teach it to a third person without needing you in the room to constantly supervise.
If your leadership system requires your genius to operate, it's not a system, it's a bottleneck.
Ouch. That's a good one. All right, step 3.
Prioritize depth over scale.
We've touched on this, but it is worth anchoring in the parable of the sower from Matthew 13.
Jesus talks about seeds that are thrown on rocky ground.
They spring up incredibly fast, looking like an immediate success.
But because they have no root system, they wither and die the second the sun comes out and the heat gets turned up.
Shallow roots equal fragile growth.
In any organization, if you prioritize rapid expansion over deep character formation, you are building a house of cards.
Depth produces stable leaders who can actually withstand the inevitable pressure, criticism, and crisis that leadership brings.
You want leaders who are anchored underground, not just blooming on the surface.
Step 4 is incredibly relevant for everyone listening right now. Integrate technology with purpose.
Technology and social media are brilliant tools for distributing information, but they are completely incapable of discipling a human heart.
The Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 9.22 talks about becoming all things to all people so that by all possible means he might save some.
That speaks to supreme adaptability. We should absolutely use modern technology.
Use the podcast, use the Slack channel, use the group text to sustain relationships and create spaces for dialogue.
But never, ever let the technological medium substitute for true face-to-face connection.
Exactly. A perfectly timed, empathetic text message is a great tool, but it does not replace the power of sitting across the table, looking someone in the eye, and holding space for them when their life is falling apart.
You cannot outsource empathy to an app.
Finally, step 5. Establish accountability rhythms.
Proverbs 27.1. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. You need intentional friction to stay sharp.
And we need to redefine accountability here.
This isn't corporate accountability used as a form of micromanagement or control.
It is accountability as a profound form of care.
It means regularly sitting down with the people you are leading and asking the hard structural questions.
Are we actually developing others who can lead? Or are we just creating a really efficient, comfortable machine that only we know how to operate?
Are you, the person I am mentoring, starting to mentor someone else yet?
It's about shifting the entire paradigm of your life from being a solo performer seeking a spotlight to acting as a conductor empowering a symphony.
It is a completely different way to live.
If we pull all the way back and look at the massive historical picture, this specific, inefficient, deeply relational method is exactly how a movement sustains itself across millennia.
Psalm 78.4 commands us to tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds.
It is the quiet, unbreakable chain of continuation.
It is the work you began, now carried forward in the lives, the habits, and the character of the people you have deeply touched.
So, as we bring this deep dive in for landing, let's synthesize everything we've just ripped apart and put back together.
The world outside your window right now does not need more noise.
It doesn't need another spectacular AI-generated, perfectly optimized platform clamoring for 3 seconds of our attention.
The world is starved for faithful leaders who have the courage to measure their success by the actual messy transformation of the people right next to them.
True success in the radical economy we've explored today is the intentional act of making yourself increasingly unnecessary as others rise up to carry the mission forward.
Making yourself unnecessary, that's the real win.
And I want to speak directly to you right now, listening to this. I know what the daily grind of this feels like.
Validating this path in a world obsessed with virality is incredibly hard.
It feels painfully slow. It feels invisible.
The actual day-to-day work of investing in people is repetitive, it's exhausting, and it is often completely thankless in the short term.
But hear this. Your steady obedience, that boring daily consistency, is the exact divine mechanism by which small seeds eventually become a massive, lasting legacy.
You are doing the grueling work of planting an orchard.
Stop comparing your dirt to someone else's fast food franchise.
The spectacular is a myth, the faithful is reality.
Now, before you take your headphones off and walk back into your life, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to really mull over today.
Here we go.
Throughout this entire deep dive, we've established the unshakable rule that we reproduce who we are.
Right.
We've spent this time talking about how to intentionally pass down your best qualities, your wisdom, your faith, your leadership acumen.
But there's a flip side.
Here is the terrifying flip side of that exact same coin. What unintended traits, what hidden blind spots, or what silent anxieties are you currently reproducing in the people who look up to you?
Oh, wow.
If your followers, your employees, or your children are inevitably becoming like you, what hidden parts of your own character do you desperately need to audit before you pass them on to the next generation?
That right there is the ultimate mirror test of a multiplying life.
It really is. It's a heavy thought, but a necessary one.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Step forward with clarity, lead with profound humility, plant those seeds, and we will see you next time.